Ashante Dickens has had a clear goal since she was young, to graduate from school and become an elementary school teacher. She did very well in elementary, middle, and even high school. And during high school, she had the opportunity to enroll in college courses to begin her college career. Everything was going so smoothly for Ashante, but then one single decision changed it all. When Ashante became pregnant with Tristan, she immediately had to drop out of school. She had to quit working, and due to relationship problems, she had to move out of her grandma's house and into a homeless shelter. And then right after Ashante was born, the two of them moved into an intermediate home for young mothers and their children. Within 2 months of Tristan's birth, Ashante was forced to go back into the workforce and find a job. She found a job at Target, and for 7 months, her daily routine included waking up, ensuring that Tristan was at daycare by 8 a.m., taking a 3-hour bus trip across town, working 8 hours, getting off, turning around, taking the trip back home, and hoping that she can pick up Tristan by 11 p.m. Ashante was trapped in this cycle of poverty. She attempted after the 7 months to find other jobs, but due to her lack of education and skills, she could find no other job that was different than these low-wage jobs and with similar daily conditions. And so Ashante was trapped in this cycle of poverty. The United States our poverty has never been constrained outside the borders of the United States, and instead it has greatly fluctuated with the tides of the economy. And today we are seeing rates of poverty rise as high as 15% in the United States. That's over 46 million Americans who are living in poverty today in the United States. So first we have to take a look at the cycle of poverty. Poverty is defined as the state or condition of having little or no money, goods, or means of support. A condition of being poor. Now this cycle is essentially an endless one, because once a family or an individual or a society falls into poverty, things happen that perpetuate this system and make it continue. So for instance, you have a child who is born into a family of poverty, and he grows up in this system, and the family is forced to do things that would seem unspeakable to us. For instance, the father has to sell drugs because he wants to be able to provide for the family. Or a single mother is forced to sell her body because she has no other option of providing for her children. And so the child grows up in this system, and it puts them at a huge disadvantage in terms of their education because of what is going on at home. And thus, when they go to get a job, they struggle to get a job because they lack the necessary skills and the education to earn this job. And so they fall into poverty, and the cycle continues. The poverty cycle can trap families for generations, and it does this to millions of individuals throughout the United States, and even more across the whole world. So to take a quick look at poverty around the world, as of now, 80% of humanity is living on $10 or less a day. And today there are 2.2 billion children living in the world, and over half of those are living in poverty. Over 1 billion children live in poverty today. So let's take a deeper look at poverty in the United States. The U.S. government defines poverty in the United States according to one's income. So for instance, a single person who earns $11,490 a year is considered to be living underneath the poverty line. And to expand that, a family of 4 who earns $23,550 a year is also considered to be living in poverty. Now some of you may be thinking, I could live off that amount of money. And it might be possible, but once you enter the real world of constant bills and unexpected difficulties, this kind of feat becomes very difficult. So I'm going to show you a quick video to kind of sum up what I'm talking about.
Right now in America, more than 46 million people are living in poverty. That's the largest number in more than 50 years, more than the combined populations of all these states.
That's not my fault.
It's
not our fault. It's computer's fault.
Right now in America, more than 46 million people are living in poverty. That's the largest number in more than 50 years, more than the combined populations of all these states. Who lives in poverty, USA? Nearly 1 out of 6 Americans. wage earners who've lost their jobs, seniors who can't afford their medicine, people in the military, families living on minimum wage, and worse yet, nearly 1 in 5 children. What's it like living at the poverty line? How do you make ends meet? According to the U.S. government, a family of 4 is living in poverty USA if they're making less than $22,113 a year. That's $1,842 a month. Just how far will that take you? Not very far. Take housing. At the poverty line, you'll pay about $530 a month for basic shelter. How about keeping the lights on and the kids warm? Utilities, $250 a month. You'll need to get to work, to childcare, to the store. But public transportation isn't always available. A used car, gas, and maintenance runs about $343 a month. What about food? You'll average about $334 a month. Or you'll go without. That's why hunger can be a problem when you're living at the poverty line. But maybe you can qualify for assistance, like food stamps, or subsidized school lunches. And while you're at work, your younger children will need childcare. Even with subsidies, you'll spend $210 a month per child. Now, healthcare. Even with government assistance programs, it will cost you, on average, $221 a month for insurance, out-of-pocket expenses, copays, and prescriptions. Of course, a surprise illness can be devastating. Many low-wage jobs don't provide sick leave. If you miss work or stay at home with the kids, you'll lose those days' wages, or worse, your job. Now it's the end of the month, and you've run out of money. But the expenses keep coming. Clothing and shoes for your growing children, school supplies, never mind saving for college. What will you let go? Can you hang on until the next payday?
Now, situations like this in the United States will not stop short of just affecting the families involved. And what happens is the cycle of poverty will spread like a disease, and it will affect other things throughout society.
Right now in America.
That works. It will affect other things throughout society, and it will spread. And it will affect things like education and the economy. And what we see is because people lack the necessary skills to join the qualified workforce, in turn, less people are able to spend money on goods and services in the United States. And some of you economists may know, according to the simple laws of supply and demand, when there's nobody spending money on goods and supplies, then that means that production has to be put at a halt. And if production is put at a halt, then that means that jobs are eliminated. And so in turn, this hurts the economy. And so many of you may be thinking that everything that I've been saying is very depressing and troublesome, which it is, and the problem at hand is a big problem, but it's not unfixable at this point. And ironically, poverty must be eliminated through the realms of education and boosting the economy. So to do this, it must happen through legislation, community involvement, and changing of government policies. So first, we must fix education for young people. We have to start at the bottom and we have to work our way up. We have to ensure that young children are able to go to school every day, no matter their family situation. Second, we have to end tax cuts for the wealthy. A single % of a tax cut on the wealthy could raise millions of dollars that could be used to fight poverty. 3, we must expand assistance for those who live in poor situations. So for instance, cash assistance and food stamps, they don't do enough to ensure that these people have the right opportunity to rise out of poverty. And 4, we must continue to provide affordable housing and things of this sort, not to enable these individuals, but to give them the opportunity to rise out of poverty. Now, this is a great amount of welfare in sorts, but this welfare must be offered to individuals, like I said, not to enable them, but instead to give them an opportunity. Because millions of individuals like Ashante are trapped in this cycle of poverty. And unlike popular belief, they don't have the opportunity to get out of poverty. They're stuck because of their situation. And so we as Americans, it is our responsibility to do all that we can to change that situation for those who are living in poor situations. And so, to close, I'd like to say this, that some of you may be thinking of ways that you can get involved with the fight against poverty, and others of you may have not even been listening for the last 10 minutes, and that's totally fine. But the reality is that something like poverty, as stated before, it is like a disease. And once it gets into things like education and the economy, it will affect you in some way, shape, or form. It will affect you eventually. And so I'd like to just ask you to act in some way.